So we're going to do a follow-up on the Doctor Who announcement. You know, the big news that the BBC is putting the show on pause. We're not getting a Christmas special. Russell T Davies and Bad Wolf Productions are out. And they're supposedly shopping the show around. They're trying to find another production partner. And the way I'm reading this, nobody wants it. Nobody wants Doctor Who. It's poison. It's radioactive. Just like no actor in their right mind would want to play the Doctor after what Chibnall and Russell T Davies did to the character. And I don't know how long it's going to be until we get new Doctor Who. They're talking at least 3 to 5 years, according to the Daily Mail. That's according to the Daily Mail. But realistically, by the time you sign an agreement and agree on a direction and cast a new Doctor and write scripts and build sets, and yeah, that's probably right. We're probably not going to have any new Doctor Who for at least 3 to 5 years. It might be longer than that. We might be looking at another 10 to 15 year gap, depending on whether or not anybody wants to pick up the tab for this show. Right now, it sounds like nobody wants to pick up the tab for this show. So let's talk about this. I got to give a hat tip to Martin, who sent this over this morning. I didn't realize there was more to say on this. I thought it was like, well, Doctor Who's on ice for now, but it's pretty bad. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Go out to more, more.clownfishtv.com. That's more, more.clownfishtv.com for more Clownfish TV and for more episodes and podcasts you will not find anywhere else. So check it out, and you can support us for less than the cost of a super chat, which we do not do over here, by the way. Also, you can listen to us on iTunes. You can listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to podcasts. We are there with an audio version, and occasionally there are episodes that are not on YouTube, out on the audio side as well. So this is coming from Deadline, and then we'll go out to the Daily Mail UK. Doctor Who's set to be off the air for years amid a creative regeneration that's failing to spark enthusiasm among producers. Now, the rumor was Sony was maybe going to pick up the tab for it, and then Sony and AMC and something was going on there. I'm reading some places that that's not going to happen because Bad Wolf is part of Sony, and if they're out, Sony's out too. I don't know. I think at this point, it's very, very risky. I don't know who's willing to take the chance on it. And you got to realize, like, HBO seems like it would be kind of a natural home for Doctor Who, maybe, because they've worked with the BBC before, but the Ellisons are going to buy it, and they're going to be like, well, we're not interested. So let's see. Exclusive. The Doctor is famed for having powers of regeneration, but the shape-shifting Time Lord's next transformation could well be the most challenging yet. That's the early verdict of UK industry insiders after the BBC dropped a TARDIS bombshell on Wednesday when the broadcaster announced a major creative rethink of Doctor Who. Gone is the Christmas special, which had been greenlit only 8 months previously, and perhaps more consequentially, showrunner Russell T Davies and producer Bad Wolf have abandoned ship. They're saying it's a mutual parting of the ways. I don't know if I agree with that. I think they're like, well, maybe it is. Maybe they're like, yeah, it's dumb. It's done. Doctor Who's, it's over. It's dumb to continue this. Let's stop. Two insiders said it was mutual after all sides realized that Doctor Who required a level of surgery that could not be masked by the sticking plaster of a festive episode. That's a very awkward sentence. Basically, yeah, we can't fix this shit. Doctor Who is in such a decimated state at this point. The only way to fix Doctor Who is probably hit the reset button, or at least pretend the last 3 or 4 seasons did not happen. Anything after Capaldi is Apocrypha, did not happen. And you can use wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff to be like, yeah, that was a bad timeline, and the Doctor wakes up and regenerates into somebody else. You could do that and be like, yeah, this is the bad timeline. We have to, kind of like they did with X-Men. With the Bryan Singer movies, they're like, yeah, we're just going to kind of retcon The Last Stand out of existence by rebooting it, and then we're going to make more awful X-Men movies. So like we had a chance to course correct and make some good X-Men movies, and instead we got Age of Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix and yeah, whatever. Two insiders said, yeah, it was bad. The creative surgery is expected to take years, potentially keeping the show off the air until at least 2028. At least. The outcome was obvious to anyone close to the show. Oh my God, guys. You mean the Chuds were right? The Chuds were right. Actually, YouTubers and podcasters had been reporting on this for months now. And prior to that, they were saying that, hey, the ratings are terrible. The show is terrible. The BBC is not happy. Disney is not happy. And time again, you had outlets like the Radio Times being like, don't listen to those chuds. Doctor Who's just fine. It's not getting canceled. You're just being negative. And here we freaking are. The outcome was obvious to anyone close to the show. Davies had no script. There were conflicting accounts about exactly how much he'd written, and there was no actor attached to play the Doctor. Nobody wants to play the Doctor. These were insurmountable issues with less than 6 months to get the special on screen. Some were surprised the Christmas episode was even announced by the BBC last October. They were desperate to show people, I think, that Doctor Who was fine. Doctor Who was fine. It was like Weekend at Bernie's. Like, yeah, we just got rid of Shooty Got What. The ratings have never been lower. But here's Billy Piper, and the show's going to go on, chuds. Suck it, chuds. Everything is fine. The lengths that these companies will go to spite their critics is just insane. Like, it's obvious. Like, look, I love Doctor Who. I wouldn't be making these videos if I didn't love Doctor Who. I just don't love Doctor Who after Capaldi. I don't love any of it after Capaldi. I would like to see the show return to its former glory, and I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. And it's not going to happen if you keep the bullshit from the Chibnall era and RTD2 era intact. You're going to have to somehow just step over that and continue. And again, a show like Doctor Who, where you're dealing with time travel and alternate dimensions and whatever, very, very easy. Just come up with or just sidestep it for a while, or come up with another explanation or something. It's very easy to undo this, but they wouldn't. And when Russell T Davies came back, I was hoping to God he would undo the timeless children, which, for those of you who don't know, they retconned the Doctor's origin. The Doctor started out as a little girl, and actually has had many incarnations before the Doctors that we know. And it was all about the zeitgeist of the day and showing everyone that, before Tom Baker, the Doctor was a sassy black woman. Like, come on. And actually, she was okay. I didn't think she was terrible, but I'm like, you could have made her a later Doctor. I thought they were going to maybe do that and be like the whole timeless children thing was a trick of the master, or Susan Foreman was actually the timeless child. So many things they could have done that would have made a lot more sense. And they're just like, no, the Doctor's not even a Time Lord. The Doctor's like effectively immortal, so there's no stakes at all. And that whole thing with Matt Smith hand wringing over the end, like him actually dying. Yeah, it didn't really matter because the Doctor can't really die. It's like, come on. So one person said it was unveiled more in hope than expectation. Yeah, it was done to calm concerns that Doctor Who was being scrapped after Disney ditched its co-production deal. Well, yeah, they can't afford it. The BBC can't afford it. Davies more or less confirmed this when he posted on Instagram that the special was only cooked up to guarantee a future when no one knew what would happen. In a statement, the BBC said the decision to cancel the Christmas episode was not taken lightly and acknowledged that the news would be disappointing. The broadcaster added it was now focused on securing the next phase of the show for future generations. The BBC announced it will embark on a competitive tender for season 16 in which producers will pitch in a bake-off style process to regenerate the series. The only way you can do it, I think, at this point is hit that reset button. Again, either a full series reset or get rid of the last couple of seasons completely. That's it. The idea of farming out one of your iconic brands to a third-party producer may seem horrible to some, but under the terms of the BBC's operating agreement known as its Royal Charter, the corporation has a duty to put in-house shows out on the market. You'd have to be mad to make Doctor Who. So this is the problem. Okay, the tender process, they recently completed the tender process for long-running medical drama Casualty, during which BBC Studios retained the contract. Doctor Who is the highest-profile series to undergo the process, but the prospect is failing to inspire enthusiasm. Okay, so this is the thing. Nobody wants it. Deadline contacted 4 respected UK drama producers to test their appetite for making Doctor Who. All had serious reservations about becoming a gun for hire. The producer said they worried about not owning the rights to a series that would likely become a significant drain on resources and creative energies. Basically, it's a very expensive show, and it's a high energy show, and the world is watching. And if you screw it up, you could wind up broke, and your reputation could be tarnished. They also harbored concerns about funding for Doctor Who after the Disney deal, while some expressed more fundamental fears about whether the Time Lord remains relevant to young audiences. That's interesting. They're like, yeah, Doctor Who is old. And they tried to make Doctor Who for TikTok. And look how that turned out. One top producer exclaimed that you would have to be mad to take on the show. It's a bit of a nightmare for any producer in this market with the shadow of the Disney follow-up. Yeah, Disney couldn't even make it work. Disney couldn't make it work. Now that they're not paying for Doctor Who, maybe we'll get more Orville, though. So there we go. This person added, it's hard to see another major U.S. studio replacing Disney, so the budget would be hard to get above $4 million per episode without significant co-pro or insane investment from the distribution arm, BBC Studios, which they will struggle to recoup on sales. It used to be that Doctor Who merchandise sold well enough to help offset some of the expense. During the David Tennant and Matt Smith eras, I know the action figures, the toys, sold very well. You can actually find them here in the U.S., which was wild. But Doctor Who was incredibly popular with kids here in the U.S. I mean, you could find the toys at retail. I think it was Toys R Us had them at the time. You could buy them in Epcot in the UK Pavilion. You could buy them off Amazon, and people were buying them. And there were whole tables. I remember there were whole tables at comic conventions because we were doing the comic convention scene back then around 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. But they had entire booths of Doctor Who stuff. It was that popular. The show is that popular. And now nobody cares. I don't even know if Epcot has Doctor Who stuff, or if they do, it's all classic. Last time I was there, it was just like a couple of t-shirts. They used to have like a whole wall of Doctor Who. It said there's a feeling the sci-fi series has lost its way creatively, with Ncuti Gatwa never fully embracing the role and concerns about Davies using a sledgehammer to, oh wow, this is coming from Deadline. Davies using a sledgehammer to tackle issues of diversity and inclusion that have long been a celebrated part of Doctor Who. Ratings have tanked under his watch. Yeah, he used to do this stuff on the show, but the story came first, and now the diversity and inclusion came first. And I totally forgot until somebody put a montage of RTD2 2.0 era ham-fisted DEI shit into one clip. And I forgot all about the Davros thing. I forgot all about it, that was Russell T Davies. Like, it's very insensitive to take the character of to have Davros in a wheelchair. It's very, very insensitive. And I'm very proud that we took him out of the wheelchair. I'm very proud that we took a classic science fiction villain and turned him into something he is not. So he's not scarred. He's not in a wheelchair. Now he just looks like a dude in a military uniform. And it was all in the name of diversity. We can't have wheelchair-bound people be the bad guys. How insensitive is that? I'm like, oh my God. He's not even in a wheelchair. He's in like a half a Dalek armor, right? It's like, it's not even a wheelchair. Come on, dude. Come the hell on. It's not clear if Bad Wolf can be persuaded to bid for Doctor Who. Why would we want them back? But a source said it was unlikely that the producer's parent, Sony, would sanction the company spending more time on a show they didn't own or have a share of. That is a big problem. And that's what we told you was going to happen with Disney. And people said, yeah, you're just full of it, Clownfish. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, no, Disney doesn't own Doctor Who. Disney went on a spending spree to get content for Disney Plus, and they foolishly thought that spending a bunch of money on Doctor Who would bring in more adult science fiction fans or whatever, and they probably would push them over to the Marvel and the Star Wars stuff. And it didn't happen because Marvel and Star Wars are not in a good place right now either. But at least they own that. They don't own Doctor Who. They said Bad Wolf's deal in 2021 to make the BBC Studios series was highly unusual, but it was used as a mechanism to restore Davies as showrunner. Bad Wolf has declined to comment beyond his statement posted on Instagram, which said it was an honor. Others are more upbeat. One person said Doctor Who is both an intriguing prospect and a potential resource sink. Doctor Who is a global brand that could burnish on the resume of a producer and potentially open other doors. Whatever happens, BBC will remain in the saddle, handling distribution, licensing, consumer products, digital, and immersive experiences. Years-long hiatus. Okay, so even if there's a frenzy for the contract, Doctor Who is expected to be off the air for years as the BBC works out its future. The BBC has not given a timeline for when it will take Doctor Who to the market. And when it does, it's a process that can take up to 6 months. So yeah, I mean, it could 6 months to even get this ready to take it to market, to look to outsource it. And then by the time you go through the whole bidding process, if you have a bunch of people that are serious, you're talking probably another 6 months to a year. And then by the time they put a team together and get all their ducks in a row, you're talking 2-3 years. And then you have to, again, cast a doctor. Nobody wants to do it. Cast a doctor, build the sets, write the scripts. Yeah, it's going to be at least 3 to 5 years. This show's cooked, man. Industry insiders think the show won't return until 2028 at the very earliest. But even then, this is considered an outside bet. One producer predicted Doctor Who could be rested for up to 5 years. That break would be good for the series. Yeah, you're going to have to reset it somehow. A person close to Doctor Who in recent years said the show will survive. If you look at the longevity of Marvel, Star Wars, and Star Trek, these are valuable commodities over generations. The BBC is lucky to have one of those. Well, yeah, but they didn't take very good care of it. Again, I think you can bring Doctor Who back. I do think you can bring it back, but... Okay, so this has come from everyone. This is one of the comments on Deadline. The real problem is that Davies is a liar. Others involved in the show have seen the script and discussed it publicly. So did he, in fact, write a script for the Christmas special, multiple versions. One thing that Got What Seasons proved is that Davies is no longer the right person for the job. No, he isn't. He was great at the beginning. I mean, the fact that we had, 15 seasons of Doctor Who, more seasons of Doctor Who, is in large part to him. But again, the Davies of 2006 and the 2007, whatever, is not the Davies of, I guess it was 2005. Is not the Davies of today, though. He's definitely, as my wife says, become politically pickled, and everything's about politics and diversity and inclusion. And we've already gone through this. We've been through this. Yes, there are gay people on television. Yes, there are black people on television. Yes, there are gay black people on TV. Guess what? They've been there for a while. But people had certain expectations of Doctor Who, and you did not meet those expectations. Yeah. So where's this shade about Ncuti never fully embracing the role of the Doctor come from? He was extremely enthusiastic. He might have been, but it just... I actually blame Davies more than I blame Gotway. He could have been a good Doctor. I think Jodie Whittaker could have been a good Doctor. And I understand people don't want a female Doctor, but I think she could have been a good Doctor had she had more to work with and had the showrunners not made such Chibnall not made such idiotic creative decisions, retconning the Doctor's origin, all that crap. But here we are. So Doctor Who, dead and buried for years. What do you think? You think it's good? I mean, like I said, I don't acknowledge anything after the Capaldi era. And I love Peter Capaldi. I thought he was awesome. He had shit to work with too, though. But even Capaldi's worst was better than the Russell T Davies and Chibnall eras. I'm just saying. We're going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.